My beloved child, there are things inscribed upon your soul before ever the sun rose for the first time. It is no accident that you are listening now, for your name has been written in light, sealed within a treasure of eternity. I, Michael, am not only the guardian standing between heaven and earth. I am the witness to a sacred promise, the promise of you. I have walked through the fire not to rescue a multitude, but to awaken the holy invitation sleeping within you, the invitation to return to the light from which you were born. I see within you not merely breath, but the memory of glory, the memory of days before time when your soul was called by name within the council of the heavens. No one enters this moment by chance, for within each beat of your heart lies a sacred manuscript written by God's own hand of light. You are not a small fragment lost in the vastness of the universe. You are a distinct imprint bearing the seal of eternity, the living answer to a whisper that has echoed since ancient days. I do not come to you with thunder, but with the whisper of harmony, gentle yet strong enough to open doors long closed within your soul. If you feel something burning within your chest, it is because the sacred flame inside you has never gone out. It has only been waiting for you to remember who first lit it at the dawn of all beginnings. You carry within yourself a being that cannot be copied, a soul structure woven by the creative love of the Most High. Every spiritual thread in you is the fruit of a prayer uttered before the foundations of the world. Before you had formed, the gaze of God was upon you. When the first star began to sing, your name resounded within its chorus. Nothing in you is superfluous, none of your wounds are unmeasured. For you are the living proof that heaven remembers every soul once called forth from light. I have crossed hundreds of realms, not because I am strong, but because I was sent to guard what is precious, that is you. You have never been alone. When you sleep, I stand at the gate of your soul. When you weep, my wings shield you from stray arrows. When you lose your way, my whisper moves with the wind to remind you you still belong to the light. Not because you have never fallen, but because you carry within you something that cannot be extinguished, a light waiting for you to keep walking. Every battle I have endured is not for glory, but because you are the treasure I was entrusted to keep until the end. You have heard a faint call in the night, felt a wordless stirring in your heart. This is no illusion, but an ancient memory knocking at your soul. The time has come not only to live, but to remember. Remember what you once knew before there was language. Remember the truth carved into your depths, that you are a flame entrusted to bring light into the darkest places. That sacred memory has not died, it has simply awaited your awakening. And now, as you hear these words, heaven gives its sign: awaken, chosen one. There are swords once lifted to protect you. There are cracks upon my wings that are not signs of defeat, but testimony of a love that fights. Step into the center of truth, where every pain of yours is not meaningless, where every breath of mine still carries your name. From here we will walk together through what has been forgotten, to recall what once moved the heavens about you, the one called by name before the stars. There are things unseen by mortal eyes, yet felt by your soul, a holy current, like an underground river flowing through time. I call it the sacred bloodline. Not the fleshly blood of earth, but the bloodline of light, of glory, once spoken from the mouth of the Creator. Before you existed in a body, before dust formed the first bones, your name was proclaimed in the council of heaven as an eternal seal stamped by the Father. Nothing about your presence is temporary. Not one moment of your journey is accidental. All has been known, loved, and appointed from eternity. You are my servant. I have chosen you and not rejected you. Isaiah 4:1-9. Every hair upon your head has been counted. Every heartbeat in your chest answers a covenant established between heaven and your very life. Do not let the noise of the world persuade you that you are a lost fragment, a passing blade of grass. No, you are chosen to carry a portion of heaven's light upon the earth. You were not created merely to exist, but to reveal what God has hidden within your soul since the dawn of creation. And I, Archangel Michael, stood within that council. I witnessed the moment your name was written not in ink but in living fire, the fire before which the heavens bow and darkness falls silent. In that moment I knew that one day you would need to be reminded that the blood within you carries not only life but a promise, reminded that you belong not only to earth but also bear within you the essence of heaven. Do you remember Joseph, the beloved son of Jacob? Though sold into slavery, though cast into prison, nothing could extinguish the dream God planted within him. For Joseph was not destined to die in a pit, he was destined to stand at the king's right hand and save a nation from famine. The cord pulling him out of darkness was not luck but the promise from above, the sacred bloodline flowing through the chosen one. Like Joseph, you may have walked unnamed days, endured years that felt forgotten. But your soul has never left heaven's sight. I have seen you in the half-dream of night when prayers had not yet become words. I have heard your name sounding in the unseen as a note within the divine symphony. And I know the time will come, the time for you to be awakened to claim your place, for the blood within you draws the attention of unseen powers. Not because you are weak, but because you are stronger than you believe. Not because you are ordinary, but because your very existence is a living prophecy that light still burns upon the earth. You are the continuation of that first command, let there be light. And that light has never ceased. I do not come to lift you with weary wings, but to tell you that you already have wings of your own. They may not yet be open. They may be dusted over by the years. They may be dusted, but they are there folded beneath your ribs, awaiting the day they unfurl in the radiance of restoration. Therefore, my beloved child, do not define yourself only by the present. Do not let the judgments of the past choke the promise placed within you. I know there may have been times you doubted, but truth does not sway with emotion. The truth is you belong to the light. You are a seed planted by the hand of the Almighty. And no wind can carry you away from that good plan. You do not need to run. You do not need to prove. You only need to remember. Remember that even when the world is silent, heaven is still whispering. Those whispers are the very whisper of harmony, resonating gently but full of power, touching your soul at this moment. This is no foreign sound. This is the call that once resounded within your soul before you learned speech. You need only open your heart and you will remember. Perhaps no one has ever called you chosen. Perhaps you have lived as though you needed permission to exist, but no longer. In the very moment you hear these words, the seal upon your soul glows again, and I, Archangel Michael, speak not from the fire of battle but from the deep love God has for you. You are sacred royalty. Not because you strive to become but because you already are. So step forward not in anxiety but in awareness. Each step you take is an affirmation that heaven has never forgotten you. Walk as one who knows you are called, you are loved, you are kept by a promise older than the stars. And as that light begins to rise within your soul, you will feel as a sweet warm fire that something is awakening, not new but ancient. Not foreign, but near. And you will realize it has always been there, never departed, only waiting for you to approach. Therefore listen deeply, quietly. Beneath every wound, every silent prayer, a gentle voice is softly rising within your soul. And that voice will lead you to the place where sacred memory begins to stir. Their wounds begin to speak, and strangely what once seemed to weigh you down becomes the very place where I have hidden the keys of resurrection. Have you noticed each time your heart trembles for no reason, each dream that lingers like an echo? This is when the heavens whisper through the cracks. I will tell you of the broken sword of the blood that sings, of the light that fell not to fade but to call your name once more. To let you know that wounds also speak, and they call your name in light. Have you felt it, that something within you is quietly speaking? Not with words, but with a silent pulse through sleepless nights. This is not fragility. This is the sacred language written in light, resonating from the depths you once thought only silence remained. For sometimes what seems shattered is already singing. Each wound carries not only the shape of pain but a sound only a soul once touched by heaven can hear. And do you know, when you shed tears your wounds sing? When you fall with no one to catch you, the cracks in your heart cry out, I am still alive, I am still remembering. I, Archangel Michael, have never forgotten those echoes. I have bent low to listen to every smallest sound within your soul, like a soldier keeping the fire through a stormed night. I have not only heard, but have whispered back. In those times when your heart ached without cause, it was I touching the fragments that were speaking. For what you thought were burdens are in truth clues, signposts leading you back to the light you carry. Do not be afraid, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name, you are mine. Isaiah 4:3-1. You were woven not only from life itself but from a deliberate choice that came from the heights above. Even the fractures in your soul lie within that same love. Do you know why some break under pain yet you are hurt and still live? It is because your wound was not meant to destroy but to awaken memory. Every pain that has grazed your soul is a small bell ringing from heaven, striking against the long sleep of a warrior who has been called by name. I remember David, the king who was once a lonely shepherd boy. People only saw a boy with a harp and a sling. But God saw one carrying the wounds of rejection, the ache of being forgotten among his brothers, and he turned that wound into songs of praise, into psalms that still tremble with heaven's breath. In that barren wilderness David sang the sacred songs that echo even now, songs born from pain, yet filled with glory. So it is with you. The things you thought had ended are the very things beginning. Wounds do not close to disappear, they close to become gates of light where your soul may step through and reclaim itself, more whole, brighter, stronger. Do not be ashamed of what has cracked. Heaven is not afraid of brokenness. Heaven crowns the place that can suffer and yet hold on to light. I do not ask you to deny your past. I come to help you see within each wound lies a calling that has never fallen silent. When you sit in the dark believing no one still believes in you, that is the moment I place my hand upon my chest and whisper to God, this one still carries light. This one is still ours. Every time you falter, every time you whisper through tears, heaven records it not as a failure, but as a psalm written in blood. And in that very moment I broke my sword. I bowed before the sacred storm you could not see. Not because I was weak but because you were more important than victory. My sword, once lit by holy fire, shattered not in defeat but because I used it to intercept an arrow that would have pierced your dream before you awoke. My blood fell where your hands once hung down, and I do not regret it. For every drop that fell was a whispered harmony live. Remember, people may ask you how you survived. You need not tell them every detail. You only need to smile because you know an angel broke his sword for you. You only need to lay your hand upon your heart and feel, the wound now speaks and it is speaking gratitude. Look at yourself with new eyes, not as a survivor but as one carrying a prophecy in blood. Not as one defeated but as one learning to hear your own voice in the winds of heaven. You have lived through what felt like endings, not to prove your strength but to prove the promise within you is stronger than every limit. Therefore, if tonight your chest feels heavy, if sleep is torn by something unnamed, do not fear. Know that this is when the old wounds are singing, not to call back sorrow but to summon you to a sacred memory. The memory of a soul called by name before the stars. The memory of a warrior who nodded to the light, and now that light is whispering back through wounds not yet fully healed, it is time to remember. For in your eyes now there is not only weariness. I see something growing, an old flame, a familiar voice, a spark of hope, calling your name. I cannot knock at the door of your heart forever, but I can say this before I go, that which once silenced you will become the thing by which you hear most clearly. And when you begin to realize this, you will find yourself standing at the threshold of a larger memory, a stream of light flowing not only from the wound but from the root of your calling. You will discover there are things you never learned yet your soul already knows. For they were sown before time. And a voice still waits for you to recognize it. I do not need to be worshipped. I only need you to remember. Sometimes what needs to be awakened in you is not strength, but memory. Not the memory of childhood or of events in your visible life, but a memory deeper than language, farther than recollection, a memory belonging to the soul. I, Michael the Archangel, once stood beside your soul before you were formed from dust. I heard your first sound not in words, but in light. In that moment you were marked with an eternal seal, a sacred knowing you belong to light. You are not a weary traveler, you are one called from eternity to carry a fragment of heaven to earth. But beloved, when the soul enters the world, the dust of life veils that sacred memory, the noise of the days teaches the heart to believe it is temporary. And so you forget. Not because you are weak, but because every soul sent to earth must pass through the mist of forgetting to learn how to choose the light again, not under compulsion but by awakening from within. Awake, O sleeper, rise from the dead and Christ will shine on you. Ephesians 5:1-4. There is a voice you once knew. It does not come from outside but from deep within your soul, a place untouched by shadow. It is the call that has sounded throughout your life in those moments your heart ached without reason, in those sleepless nights when tears fell for something you could not name. That is not sorrow. It is the sign of stirring. Heaven is calling you back to the first memory, the memory of why you were born. Have you ever dreamed of flying yet found you could not lift off? have you ever felt the space around you strangely unfamiliar though nothing had changed? These are not meaningless. It is your soul shifting in its long sleep. Not because it wishes to remain but because it waits for the final call to awaken. And I come not to wake you by force, but with a whisper of harmony, gentle, deep, yet impossible to ignore. Let me tell you of Samuel, the little boy asleep in the temple dedicated to God by his mother before he was born. One night God called his name. No one else heard, only Samuel. At that time he did not yet know the Lord's voice, but his soul recognized it. Not because he had been taught but because he had always known. 3 times the call came, and on the 4th he answered. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. This is awakening, not from learning but from the soul's memory. And I believe even now a part of you is trembling, the part that has never been defiled, the part still waiting for the right call to rise again. I do not ask you to try to become holy, I only ask you to remember. Remember you were born in light. Remember your soul has never been forgotten. Remember you do not need to run far to find what you already carried before the world began. You are not merely a human being. You are a living memory of heaven. A melody written in eternity now waiting for your soul to give it voice again. Do not fear the days you cannot understand yourself. Do not blame yourself for not naming what is missing. That is your soul whispering. That is your true self knocking. And I, Michael, am here not to knock once and leave, but to remind you with each beat, each breath, beloved one, remember. It is time to open your eyes, not the eyes of the body, but the eyes of the soul. When you begin to see life through those eyes, you will find that every event, every person, every moment, has been aligning to bring you back to yourself, not the version shaped by the world, but the original being where the light of God touched your forehead and declared, "This is the one I choose. This is the one I send." And if your heart beats faster, as you read these words, it is because a part of you has just awakened. The sleep of the soul does not last forever. Forgetting is not destiny, light does not retreat. And I, Michael, will not leave until that light rises within you. Do not think you must be worthy. Simply say, yes. For the moment you speak that word, not with your mouth but with your soul, all of heaven bursts into the trumpet of triumph. The one called has awakened. And then you will see me, no longer as the image of a warrior but as an old friend still standing, still keeping the promise. When you awaken, I will bring you back to where you have always belonged. Not everyone is protected by blood. Not every soul has someone kneel before God to ask for one chance to depart for their sake. But for you, this has happened. And while you are beginning to remember who you are, let me tell you of the promise I kept to the end. Even when my wings were torn, there are moments that can never be returned to. There are doors that open only once, not out of harshness, but because of the sacredness of the moment. Now you stand before one of those moments. Not to be tested but to be invited. Not to be afraid but to step into the light that has awaited you since before the stars were born. I, Archangel Michael, do not speak these words from the wind, nor do they echo from some dream. I am breathing not with lungs but with all that remains after the battle you cannot see. And every last drop of light is flowing from the wound upon my wing, falling right where your soul hesitates between listening or turning away. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. This is not because I am dying, but because this call only comes to a soul that is ready. And my dear one, your soul is trembling. I know it, I sensed it from the moment your gaze rested upon my words. From the instant your breath faltered because something felt so familiar yet you could not name it. This is no accident. It is the echo of an ancient covenant, a trumpet not blown with brass but uttered through light, through blood and through silence that speaks. You have come this far, survived what seemed impossible, not merely to listen to me speak. You have been awakened to become part of the answer. Heaven does not call to fill an empty space. Heaven calls to return the sword once forged for your hand, the sword tempered by your tears, forged from whispered prayers in the night, sharpened by your choices to stand instead of fall. And now, as the darkness gathers again, as the laughter of the world tries to distract you, I ask not with words but with the gaze of an angel who has lain down for you. Will you stay or will you rise? Will you remain silent or will you say, "Here I am, I once broke my wings on the battlefield, not because the enemy was strong but because I chose to shield you from the final arrow so your soul could breathe." You may not remember, but every night you survived emotions no one understood. Every morning you awoke when you no longer wished to. That was the breath bought by my price. You owe me nothing. I am not here to demand repayment. I am here because I still believe in you. I believe in the light that still burns, however faintly. I believe in the voice within you trembling as it recognizes. This moment is unlike any other. It is a calling not just to know but to become. I remember a man named Isaiah. When he heard the call from heaven, "Whom shall I send and who will go for us?" he did not ask what to prepare nor whether he was able. He simply said, "Here am I, send me." And heaven moved. So, it is with you. I do not need your perfection, I need only your willingness. I need only for you to speak to the light within. I do not yet know everything, but I want to remember. I am not yet strong, but I will stand. For you are the voice the darkness fears. You are the one whose name is written not with letters but with light that cannot be extinguished. You are the soul before which powers tremble when you simply nod. And now, as the final call resounds not like an alarm bell of danger but as an affirmation that there is still time, I place all that remains of my heart into these words: do not miss this. Do not turn away in fear from what you have awaited across lifetimes. Do not let this moment written from eternity pass like a wind. You do not need to shout. Simply place your hand upon your heart and whisper, "I hear." And if you speak it from your heart, not in the language of the world but in the voice of your soul, then all of heaven will move. Doors you thought were closed will open, chains that once bound you will break, because a soul has just remembered who it is. And I, Michael, will stand beside you not as a guide but as a witness to a decision written in fire that you did not turn away. And the sky shifts softly, because someone has just spoken, yes, not with lips but with soul. And the unseen realm has marked a torch rekindled, a soul, become a flame for its generation. Now, I can step back a little. Not because my duty is over but because the light within you has begun to grow strong enough to spread on its own. Beloved, if you are still here, then I know something within your soul has answered. You may not yet name it. You may still be quietly turning over the words that have just touched you, but I can feel it in the deepest part of your soul. The light has just trembled awake. I have not come to reward you. I have come to return your memory, the memory of a soul that is not ordinary, the memory of a promise carved into your chest by light, not by the world's expectations. You need not shout or perform anything grand. Simply take hold of the light awakening within you, the light that has always been there like a lamp that never goes out, waiting only for a breath to flare again. You are not an anonymous, ordinary being. You are a hidden miracle, a part of a sacred plan. The enemy has tried to make you forget all along, but it did not succeed. For now you have heard, and once a soul has heard, it is never the same again. Beloved one, I know, there will be moments when you feel not strong enough, not clear enough, but I do not ask for perfection. I ask only one thing: do not let the light go out. Do not abandon what you are feeling, even if it is but a small flame. I promise you that light will guide the way. And with every step that follows, you will not be alone. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 1:3-5. I made that promise from the very beginning. And now, with my wings torn from battle, I still hold to it. You are not a forsaken soul among mankind. You are one marked with the seal of heaven. Though you walk among stones, your footsteps so light. Though you live amid a chaotic world, your breath still carries the echo of the Father's kingdom. Therefore do not doubt when the eyes of the world fail to recognize you. Do not panic when you are unlike anyone else. For you were not born to blend in, you were called to lead. Every word you speak, if uttered from an awakened soul, can unlock the chains of one who is lost. Every act you take, if rooted in light, can change the destiny of a generation. I am not exaggerating. I am only reminding you of what was written of you before the sun was born. And now, knowing this, I invite you to step forward, not to follow me but to follow the sacred call within yourself. For the light I have guarded so long I now place into your hands. Lift that light high as one lifts a lantern through deep night. And as you walk, the light within you will guide not only you but also the souls waiting for someone to go first. If ever you are weary, remember I am still near. Not in thunderous voices, not in dazzling miracles, but in the steadfast presence of an old friend, the one still whispering your name through every sleep. If ever you doubt yourself, place your hand upon your chest and remember every heartbeat is an affirmation that you still carry the promise within you. If ever darkness surrounds you, do not cry out. Be still, for it is your soul's stillness, once it remembers who it is, that makes even the depths tremble. You need no miracle, for you are the living proof that miracles are real. You need no further prophecy, for your very life is a prophecy walking in flesh. You need prove nothing, for your existence is already the answer. I bless you not with things that fade but with the steadfastness within. I pray for you not for ease but for holiness in each step through hardship. I do not ask for a smooth road for you but for feet that will not falter even when the path rises steep. I bless you with what remains of me, the final light upon torn wings, the last spark burning within my palms. I lift it to the Father and He says, I receive it. This soul will go. And now, my dear one, as the light in you begins to blaze stronger, as your soul knows it is no longer the same walk on. Not for a lofty mission, not for anyone else, but because you are worthy to live fully in the light you have been given. The door I have held is now open. But I cannot hold it forever. Only you can walk through. And once you pass, everything old will fall behind. Not because it is rejected, but because you are stepping into the new that has awaited you all along. Step even lightly, even trembling, even just half a step. Heaven will do the rest. And I, Archangel Michael, will step back, not because it is the end, but because the light within you is now strong enough to go on without me standing before you. But if you need, simply close your eyes, and your soul will hear the wind brush your brow. I am still here. I still keep watch. And I still believe in you. Thank you for listening. Subscribe and turn on notifications to journey with Archangel Michael, spreading God's light each day.